Hey guys, this is Rainwolf from Convention Video.
Hey guys, Kirito Silverheart here. We're talking SAO War of Underworld episode Awakening.
Hi, this is Asana Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
So we are talking about Awakening. The first scene that we step into is pretty much almost a little recap of the last step, like the very ending of the last episode 6. The welcome back from everybody, Poe praising Kirito and just pulling out his hand and his sword comes to him.
Yeah, oh my god, epicness. Beyond epicness. It's like, okay, this dude is ready for war.
Yeah, it very much Poe even looks at him and it's just, pretty much like the game's on. The game is afoot. Let's do this.
Then we go
Showtime Part 2.
So we got the opening and then we go straight into the fight. Clashing of blades, blocking Poe's attacks, and being told to throw away the blue rose.
Yeah, my worry about this whole thing was if he let go of Blue Rose, would that deactivate the binding that he has on all the red players? And I'm just like, he's not stupid enough to do that.
And I'm thinking that would be the cause if he did drop it, because he did not want to let go of it for that reason, but also that bond. You got to remember when Ugio activated his ability for Blue Rose, once he did let go, everything just started the vines started to disappear.
Yeah.
Then Poe brings up the massacre that is to come when the ice melts.
Threatening the complete annihilation of everyone Kirito holds near and dear, and trying to goad him into just tell your friends to strike first and get it over with.
And that was it was a double play. It was him still trying to get at Kirito, trying to get him to, corrupt him. It was also a play because he knew that if those people were to die, it would make him that much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make Poe that much stronger. Like the more people die, the more his weapon's feeding off of it, the stronger he's becoming.
Then T.S., I think that's how you pronounce Ugio's page's name, if I remember correctly. She's holding Blue Rose's sheath, and she's calling out to Kirito to herself. And then she looks up, and then having Ugio walking to Kirito's side.
This moment was completely beautiful.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm watching this, when Kirito realizes that Ugio is standing there next to him, and he starts tearing up. I'm not going to lie. I was tearing up with him. I was just like, hell yes. I was like, we got to see Asuna and Yuki bond and fight together, and now we get the kick-ass brothers doing it. Hell yes. I am all about this moment.
That bond that the two have, because time acceleration that's gone through in the Underworld up to this point, before they put it on the 1-to-1 real world, it was years. They pretty much grew up as children together.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the better part of, let's see, the
better part of Kirito, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it, we could definitely say, because they grew up in the village together. The Alice incident happened when they were roughly, between 6 and 8 years old-ish, something like that. And then we have that time jump, before Kirito gets poisoned and goes unconscious and gets put back into the FTL. And now we're looking at a pretty big time gap of better part of a decade, maybe more. And Ugio plays it off at the beginning, but he recognizes him, and he knows this is what's going to happen. This is what's going down. And they spend years together going through training together, going through the academy together, through their fights and battles together.
They're mentors, and then even coming to the point where they actually have their own pages.
Yeah. I mean, that's the better part of 4 to 6 years right there. And then we even learn later on that it's been barely a day in the real world since Kirito lost his consciousness and now. Yeah. But in the Underworld, it's been over 6 months that he's been unconscious, and now he's back.
And then once Ugio is right beside Kirito, they have that little moment, and then they raise Blue Rose to the sky,
which was awesome,
releasing recollection from Kirito and Ugio with Blue Rose, which forced all the red players to log out.
Yeah, that was a twist.
It was, because now it's not death energy. Or it is pretty much still life energy from the players, but its attribute is different from what Poe's blade cannot absorb. Mm-hmm. But since Kirito's blade was forged from the world, or the demon tree to begin with, it's just funny watching Poe trying to take in the resources.
He's standing there and he's just like, why am I not absorbing this? And he is madly slashing at the air, just like, no, get in my sword, you son of a bitch. I almost crack up if it wasn't for the fact that we have that beautiful moment where again we see Yuki when Asuna and everybody else is looking up and going, oh my god, what's going on? That's their life force energy, but it's different.
It wasn't taken out of hate, desperation, any of the emotions that pretty much Poe feeds off of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't
okay.
chaotic energy.
It was taken out of that want, that desire to, go and enjoy life and go somewhere beautiful and, the adventure and the fun of it,
Kirito released them in the way that they would not feel suffering.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it.
And then Kirito takes in the resources, Poe trying to stop him once again.
Yeah, now let's also point out that as the red players are re-released, a bunch of ice starts forming up from the handle of the blue rose sword. And when it shatters and all the players start being released, it has a brand new reformed blade. And I'm just thinking to myself, hell yes.
Because the resources that were there, because you got to remember the rose petals, once they bloom, they take the resource energy and give it to the wielder of the blade.
Mm-hmm.
And since the durability for Blue Rose was in pretty bad shape to begin with, it took a number of those resources to restore itself, pretty much.
But then we also, then we see all the resources being channeled into the Night Sky Blade, as we were talking about. And as they're channeled in, we start seeing all these different glows coming up around Kirito's body.
Yep.
And as soon as you start
Kirito's blade as well.
Yeah, that's when we find out the pages are discussing. Master Yu-Gi-Oh once told us that, Master Kirito's blade was formed from the demon tree in their hometown where they grew up. And because of it being formed from this tree, it can gather the life sources of the world around it.
Because that durability of that tree was formed because of how long it's been around, and it was absorbing resources as it was growing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a natural construct, so it came from the realm itself. It came from that world. It was a part of that world, so it had a natural ability to absorb the resources of the world to sustain itself. And so we start seeing the different forms around Kirito, and suddenly he's back in the Black Swordsman outfit, and I'm just like, yeah, my boy.
Then you got it's just funny because he changes into the black swords, then you got the sheath from his blade and also Blue Rose just flying over to where their proper placement.
Yep.
It's like they know where they need to be.
Yeah. It's like this is the moment when you realize he is OPAF and Poe is fucked.
They go into this clash, and Kirito actually using system commands.
Yes, the fact that this is something that we don't see a whole lot of.
He's not
throughout
the type
the other
to really
series.
Because of the class he plays in LLO, they're not really meant for their magic use. Their magic is mainly meant for stealth or illusions.
Yeah.
So they're not really combatant type magic users. But with him going through the years, definitely going through the schooling up to the point from the village, the time frame it took for them to get to the Empire.
Well, also you have to remember what he's learned from, the administrator and what he saw the administrator do and the things he's picked up and he started to realize about the world.
Well, also you got to remember the schooling him and Yu-Gi-Oh were going through. They taught them, they were raising them to become integrity knights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to teach you system commands. Kirito may not be the greatest at it.
Yeah, but in situations like that, you don't necessarily need a mastery of it as long as it's good enough to provide a distraction, which, as we see in this case, he initiates system command burst element and starts launching all these energy orbs. Poe's deflecting, but then we have a handful of them that hit the ground and cause a massive dust cloud. The camera pans behind Poe, and here comes Kirito just out from behind him all of a sudden, and you're just like, do it!
And then Poe's doing these combo attacks, and then Kirito's blocking them with Blue Rose at first. And then he starts that last attack. He takes his own blade, blocks it. They're in a little standoff for a moment. And then Poe's blade starts to shatter.
Well, and even before this, we see a new trick that Poe does. And that's where he basically shadow clones himself.
True.
Which I thought was an interesting idea. It was kind of
it was new, but
yeah.
with the type of person he was and the type of work he does kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and it was also another one of those moments of, okay, we see that they are, at this point, they're relatively matched for sword skill.
Mhm.
And Kirito pulls out of nowhere the burst element attack, as a distraction. So Poe just kind of instinctively goes, okay, you're not the only one that can do shit like this. And so he spawns 2 clones of himself to go in on the attack too. Had Kirito been a hair slower, Poe might have gotten a pretty lethal hit on him. But, we know the Black Swordsman is going to be too BA for this.
Well, you gotta remember his stats from SAO. All he really focused on was his one-handed swordsmanship and speed and a few other stats.
Mm-hmm.
He really kind of focus targeted his stats, unlike other people where they kind of went in different routes.
Yeah, and I did notice in this particular fight as well, you'll notice during those final clashes with Poe, those final sword clashes together, he's got all of his energy and sword skills channeled into Blue Rose. And then he switches and channels them into the Night Sky Blade. And this takes me back to ALO, because in SAO, when he got the dual wielding ability, he could do sword skills on both blades simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But when he went to ALO, it is distinctly said in ALO, it's a couple different points, if I'm not mistaken. There is no dual there's no dual wielding skill. You can quick switch to your skills from left-handed and right-handed weapons. So you can dual wield, but there's no dual sword skills.
And the thing is, there's a possibility there are dual wielding skills in the Underworld, but with him mainly focusing on one-handed skills the whole time, up until now where he actually has 2 blades, he's not going to have any of them in his archive. I was kind of hoping to see Twilight Storm just wreck up.
Oh, that would have been beautiful.
It's like, Poe, I'm done with your ass. Let me just finish this real quick.
Right? Which
go ahead.
No, I was getting ready to make a comment, but I'll save it for later.
Then after all this, the blade shatters. He prevents Poe from ever logging out.
That was dark.
Poe's like,
That was beautiful, though.
I was like, what are you
Perfect.
talking about?
Because he said, well, he even told him, he said, I will keep coming after you. This is going to log me out, and I'm going to keep coming after you, and I'll still come after you until you're dead, till everyone's dead. And
yeah, specifically calls out, until I slash yours and the lightning flashes throats and rip out your heart, I will not stop coming.
You notice the stance he has when he takes his blade, sticks it in that hole in the middle of Poe.
Yeah, now let's not ignore the fact that he also cut off his fucking arm.
Yeah, that too.
When that mushroom cloud of an ability went off.
Because when the blade shattered, it took the arm with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a blast large enough that it affected the people around. They were shooketh. Like, it was definitely a thing. But yeah, he pretty much, he tells him, oh, I'm going to still come after you. I'm still coming at. And Kirito's like, okay, I fixed it. You can't log out.
Yeah, you're never logging out.
And he smiles, like Poe smiles for a minute because he thinks
he's bluffing.
Yeah, there's this weird glow that comes from the blade up through the massive chasm that Asuna left in Poe, and he just walks away.
And then a couple seconds later, he starts to expand. He's like, what?
I start having flashbacks to like Akira or Faces of Death in this moment.
yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh god, what kind of weird freaky tentacle monster bullshit is this? And then I realize it's roots and tree leaves and bark, and I'm like, oh, this is cool.
And then finding out what it's like, yeah, Kirito just in a calm manner, walking away like nothing's happening. He's like, oh yeah, I sent a memory of the demon tree to Poe.
Yeah, he's like, my sword was forged from a 200-year-old tree that was known in the village as the demon tree because for years, people in the village had tried to cut this tree down and never could succeed. Yeah, generation. And he's like, I just infused that memory into your body. He's like, you better pray that you find a way to get out of the STL because, he's just, he knows that once things start to go back to the way they're supposed to be, Poe's gone. Poe's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way he's out.
He says maybe in 200 years some kid will chop you down.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
200 years? Shit, that's gonna fuck with him so hard. Definitely coming out.
Yeah, which we'll find out about that later.
And he goes in.
So funny.
Then the remaining resources that he gained from the red players that he did not pretty much use throughout that fight, he just is like release recollection, and it goes out just heals everybody.
System command, transfer unit right durability. To area. Yeah, transfer durability right to area, and we have another massive AOE effect done by Kirito, and we just start raining down restorative energy.
Because from that blade, what that blade is made from, you can imagine the standard durability for that blade.
Oh my god.
You can imagine the durability from all that resource probably skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's back and healed. And then you got Klein busting Kirito's balls for stealing the show again. Like being glad he's back.
Was very Klein. Yeah.
It's like punches
He
Kirito in the
starts,
shoulder.
yeah, and then he starts crying like uncontrollably. I was like, oh, poor Klein.
And the single most sign of respect that Kirito probably could have earned in this moment is when all of the Axiom Church's knights, the Human Empire knights, take off their helmets and take a knee in respect. And he's even the face of...
That is a beautiful scene, but I find this a little more entertaining is when Storvila, his mentor, I think that's how it's pronounced, not too sure on that, his mentor, and Roni, his page, run to Kirito, and you see her behind him, holding him close, and you got his page in front of him, holding on to him.
You literally have all these people just like dogpiling on top of him, just like, oh my god, you're back, you're okay, you saved us.
Dogpile. It's just those two.
But you gotta admit, he is starting to get surrounded, and the whole time, Asuna is just standing there with tears in her eyes, and she's just like trying to get up and get to him, and I'm just like, can y'all get the fuck out of the way?
Yeah, just let them have their moment. Just move, guys. Just move.
Then you got the soldier, and as Kirito was saying, the soldiers bowing, and then we have Kirito bowing to everyone as Asuna makes her way to Kirito, because he knows the sacrifices because he was, even though he wasn't fully coherent, he knew the ones that were there and the possibility of the numbers of people that were there originally to help him and the underworld.
Yeah, so Asuna walks up to him, and she doesn't even take a moment to express her grief, her gratitude, her love, her sorrow, anything. She looks at him in the eye and gets right down to business and says, Alice has been taken by Vecta, and we need to go help her. And Kirito's like, yeah, it's a little hazy, but I know what's going on.
She brings up Shinon, not Alice.
No, she said Alice.
Yeah, she said Alice.
She said Alice.
She says Alice.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta look back at that.
Yeah, she says...
She may have said Shinon at one point too, but she did say Alice. I specifically remember her saying Vecta and Alice. She did send Shinon after Alice.
Yeah, because the last thing Austin knew is Alice was taken by Vecta.
That's true.
She doesn't know that Shinon caught up to him.
Or Bercoli.
Yeah, she doesn't know about
anything.
Bercoli. She doesn't know anything that's happened on the storyline end with Alice. She just knows the last thing that happened was Alice was taken, and there are people that went after them, but we don't know what's going on, and we need to go help them. And Kirito's like, okay, yeah, I know the situation. It's a little hazy, but I know what's going on. I need your help.
And he pulls this in such a, how to put it, classical way, or like, let's say he finally grew some balls and made moves.
Yeah.
Takes his hand, wipes the tears away, lifts her into his arms, and just flies off.
And as somebody who has been watching SAO from the beginning and stuff, this is a hilarious moment to me, because I also play several of the SAO video games, and in one of them there is a command that you can try to do with Asuna where you try to pick her up and carry her. And if you don't have a certain level of reputation with her, she gets all embarrassed and she's like, what the hell are you doing? Get the hell off of me.
Pretty much.
Do you notice
it brought a flashback to me for that.
She was a little bit like, what are you doing? Where are we going? Okay.
Do you notice the slight expressions from Liz and Sheena?
I noticed them.
They were so cute.
Liz and Silica and
then
all the girls.
They were like, I wish a guy would fly me away.
And then Agnel's like,
Klein standing there like, what's
finally-
everybody looking at? Yeah.
Liz in her classic, yeah, this is my life kind of pose. It's like, story of my life. I came here to rescue this son of a bitch. I don't even get a thank you.
Yeah.
I don't remember if his page and his mentor were there in that screen, but I think they were.
I'm pretty sure they were, because it showed the entire crowd.
Yeah.
As they're looking up at him as he flies away.
Yep. I caught Silica's and Liz's and Agnel's, but I didn't catch the others. And then we go back onto the ship.
Yeah, so back on Raft, we have Hyga waking up, who apparently has been unconscious.
Well, at least we know he's alive.
Yeah, thank God for
Yeah,
that.
thank goodness.
Because he wasn't in great
I
shape.
really started to like him. I was very concerned.
I think a lot of us did.
I was very concerned. I really did like him.
And then he gets slammed for overdoing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been.
So Kirito's quote-unquote boss is trying to catch him up on everything that's been happening while he was unconscious. And as he's explaining the situation of Kirito's awake, and he just did this totally BA thing, we see a giant warning screen.
Well, a little before that, a little comedic moment is that Kirito's
Over
boss
2
slams the game, slams the competitiveness of the gaming community.
Yes.
I'm like, you really had to bring that up.
But you know what? I guess it's kind of it's a comedic sting at it's a little gut jab at the gaming community, but at the same time it's also a kind of a good representation of and a good explanation of why they had so many enemy reinforcement. It's like, he's like, basically, they put out this story that, some stupid shit was going on and everybody was just like, oh yeah, let's go fuck these people up, just do it.
And then we find out of that most of the 2000, we don't have an exact number, but a good majority of the 2000 that came over from ALO were out.
The Japanese players haven't made it.
I know they agreed to come, but it's going to be interesting to see what's to come from the ones that didn't make it, because now their avatars are gone.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be mad, but knowing Kirito the way he is, and then probably even his boss, pretty much.
Oh, I'm sure they'll find some way to be like, okay, we're going to try and restore everything we can, or we're going to give you, they'll hack the system to where it's like, okay, we'll give you back what you had and your abilities and your levels and stuff.
Well, the thing is, the way the Underworld runs, it's not like that, where there's like a storage of...
No, I'm talking about when they go back to ALO. Like when everything's said and done with the Underworld and people are trying to get back into ALO and stuff, I'm pretty sure that,
a backup archive.
Coca is going to say, okay, hey, we pulled some strings, with, the people running the game and stuff, and here you go. Here's all your shit back.
That's something I'm really interested to see how they go about that, though.
Yeah, me too. The aftermath of this entire situation is going to be interesting. I think there's going to be some comedic moments. I think there's also going to be some heartbreak and some struggles with some certain things, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
And as you were saying a little earlier, we have the safety limiter being broken.
Yeah, so Gabriel's forces, his little technician guy, apparently had instructions that at the 8-hour mark, before the troops would show up to take back the raft, his instructions were to take the Fluctlight speed for the Underworld back up to accelerated rate. Now, what he didn't say in that thing was just how much of an accelerated rate. So as he's pushing the control lever to speed up the accelerator, he realizes that he is physically locked from going past a certain point. And we just see one of the other guys walk up with a pistol in his hand and goes, let me take care of this.
I'm kind of annoyed here on this part, because you would have thought, with how smart Hyga and the rest of the people on that ship are, there would have been a safety measure from if the lever got broken or the lock got broken.
Yeah, you would think it would have been a digital override as opposed to a physical restraint on the lever.
Well, no, you would have the lever and the physical restraint, but also if it was broken and it was not, there was the passcode or something wasn't entered in.
To be fair, I don't think, even though they knew they were dealing with some stuff, they were on a boat in the middle of the ocean. I'm pretty certain they thought they were fairly safe. They had heavy security, and they're making a video game. I don't think they were really expecting for crazy.
Well, the thing is, Hyga and them, to them, it's really not it is a video game.
It's AI. It's AI.
Something to create to benefit the world, pretty much, type situation. It wasn't...
Well, it had a lot to do with, the soul. It had a lot to do with AI and things like that. But yeah, I don't think necessarily... They knew it was some stuff, but I don't think they were quite prepared for the shitstorm attack that happened. So they did have heavy security on a boat in the middle of the ocean. I think they thought they were as prepared as they needed to be.
I'm wondering how things are... Because remember a couple episodes back, they zoomed in quite heavily on that secondary robot. And now we have this situation that's about to happen where Hyga and...
Kirito's boss, Akihiko?
I think it is. His name always draws a blank for me, because you don't really hear it too often.
It does, and no matter how many times I've looked it up or written it down or anything, it just right out of my head. He's Mr. Nobody in my opinion.
He talks with Kirito in his head because of the direct link that Hyga made to Kirito when he went down to link the flux lights.
Which was an interesting little development because when you first hear that communication link, you think it's coming through that console. And Hyga specifies when he tells Kirito's boss about this whole thing, he's like, no, man. He's like, this wasn't through a console. This was a direct line to Kirito. And I'm thinking to myself, if you had that direct line this entire time,
things would have been 10 times better.
yeah. It's like you could have intervened
You couldn't
earlier.
have rung him up a little bit sooner, like just a hot minute. Like, also though, I think Kirito had to be susceptible to it. I think that was also part of it. And if you remember the last time they talked, Kirito was not susceptible. He was very pissed off. So
Oh yeah, he does bring that up to him. That
yeah, he was like, sorry
That's
about,
true.
he said 6 months ago, but he said, or they correct himself to last night.
Yeah, which is where again we see how much of that time speed there really is. The course of not even 24 hours has already been 6 months. So how long? I mean, I guess we're looking at maybe couple like 2 to 4 hours. It has only gone by real time since they lowered it to 1-to-1 ratio on the flux light time and real world time. It's only been like maybe 2 to 4 hours.
yeah, and then now the trouble that Hyga and the rest are in now on the ship because they're out of smoke grenades, their decoy's already gone.
Yeah, so now it's time for the armed security personnel to go do their job while
They try to
Mr.
take-
Nobody and Hyga climb back down the ladder.
So they could actually fix the problem that's going on. Or if Kirito and Asuna and the yeah, mainly Kirito and Asuna are really the only ones that need to try to escape through the altar.
Yeah, now this shows that their primary concern is no longer Alice. Their primary concern is getting them out safely. Because the whole mission up until now was to get Alice to the world's altar and eject her flux light cube safely.
Yes, but
And
now
now it's
real
just
life
like-
people are in danger.
Yeah, now
because
it's like you're on a time limit and you could possibly die,
Well-
or you could be.
there could be some
Comatose.
limitations when you get back to your actual body.
Yeah, you could be severely broken.
And we don't know in which ways.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
So run fast.
Mhm.
Yeah, in 10 minutes, dealing with Vecta, dumbass. It's just crazy also when after that whole conversation of filling in Kirito, then Kirito filling in Asuna on what's going on.
Kind of
He
filling
gives
in
her the-
Asuna. He gives her the glossified
rundown.
version.
Yeah.
He gives her the glossy version of,
Yeah, but
yeah,
she
We got 10
knows
minutes.
because you could no, just because he said it was, she knew because like they have that moment where her eye, like they kind of pan toward her eyes and she looks a little sad. And I think
Yeah.
there's this moment where she's like, he's lying to my ass.
Mhm.
I know he is, but
Yeah.
I love him, so I'm gonna do whatever. We're probably gonna die. Like that's the
But
look.
also,
I
if
know
you're
this
told,
look. I've had this look as a woman. Like you're just like this motherfucker's lying to me, but I love him anyway.
but if you're told, we only have 10 minutes to get out.
Yeah. Oh, 10 minutes, the world acceleration starts again. I think she's smart enough to know what that means.
Yeah.
I think she knows. She doesn't want to admit to it. And she's going because she feels like she should. Like, she's like,
Mhm.
I need to save Alice. This is something we need to do.
So they fly off, then it changes over to Alice. They're flying, and by the looks of it, she's pretty close to the altar.
Yeah, it looks like it's not that far away. Another maybe 5-10 minutes of flight, if that.
Well, they land her on it by the looks of it.
I don't think that they landed her on the altar. I think they
How
landed
else
her
would she get up
beforehand.
there? Because she can't fly herself.
I mean, I don't know, but it just, to me, it seemed like it was a different area. It visually, it seemed like it would be a
Yeah,
different
because there
area.
really wasn't a lot of detail on the landing space. It was just
Mhm.
grass.
Yeah.
And then as they're flying over to before they land, Alice is telling the two dragons to go find a partner, have strong children.
Yeah,
Yeah, to go
leave
back.
her, go save themselves.
But as she's saying those, it kind of flips over to the dragons, and you very well already, just from the expressions.
Yeah, well, her dragon begins to tear up. Like her dragon is like, "Oh no, I love you." Like you're this isn't going down. And it was like watching Old Yeller go again. Like it was
It
so
was.
hard. It was
It
this
was
moment where
difficult.
the dragon turns and she knows. Like she knows what they're gonna do.
Yeah, because as soon as she's on the ground,
They're
two of
buying
them.
her. They're buying her time. I don't think they truly think they can kill this guy. They know
No.
what he is, but they're trying to buy Alice time.
And then as they give off that first fire blast, you can tell how badly damaged one of them is with from Vecta's attack to block it.
Well, and on top of that, I also think it's the fact that they're not doing their basic fire attack. They are putting everything they have
They're
into
possibly using their
singular attack. I mean, they're using every bit of their energy, their strength, their resource, everything. And it's starting to take a physical toll on them.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with Vecta deflecting and assaulting back.
And then we get the point where Vecta does his pretty much a full out attack to wipe the two of them out. Then you get this big beam of light just coming from the sky, and Kirito's just standing there, all badassery. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's like denied. That is the one word that should have just popped up right there on the screen at that moment is denied.
What just happened here? I know you were flying pretty fast, but damn.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then we're like, where's Alice? Where's Asuda? Did she get dropped off to Shinon, or is she with Alice?
That's a good question. I have a feeling that she's
'Cause I want my
probably
waifu back.
landing.
Waifu back too. She's
They're
just
very
out
concerned
there.
about waifu. They have been going on and on about waifu.
Because
So-
she's out there, legless. We just see
Well,
her back.
okay. So here's a point that I would like to discuss. When we find out about the Fluctlight speed increase, we're told that the
Leafa and
current
Shinon
ratio.
will
Well,
be
we're told
fine.
that the current ratio is 1-to-1. It's being sped back up, but it's going to the hardware limit, which is 5 million times speed progression. And once it starts hitting that level, you're pretty much going to instantly span 200 years. But they're saying that because Shinon and Leafa are logged in from a satellite remote location back in Japan,
The satellites won't be able to push
Yeah.
the data, so
There's-
it would
there's
force
a
them to log
default-
out.
yeah, there's a default brake system that
Well, it's
automatically
not
kicks
really
them
a-
out of the system.
It's not really a default system. It's more of that the satellite bandwidth connection. It can't support the amount of data that would be required to send.
Well, see, I think I felt like the way Heike explained it was since they're remote connected, there's a safety protocol in place to where if the acceleration gets too high, when they can't keep up with the speed, they're safely logged out.
Yeah, that they will actually be logged out. But
So
Kirito
my
and
question
Asuna,
is-
where they're at the location and the way they were logged in, there's another
Yeah,
issue.
it's like the difference between being hardlined and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, pretty much. They're
You know,
hardlined into the system.
Yeah, Asuna
Plus,
and
they've
Kirito are
been there
hardlined.
longer. You have to
Yeah.
think Kirito especially, but Asuna's been there longer than the others. There's that too.
Yeah, so and Leaf and Shinon are on basically a Wi-Fi connection to the underworld. So there's this safety mechanism in place where if the Fluxlight speed accelerator gets too high, they're automatically safely logged out of the system and they'll be fine. It makes me wonder, are we even going to get a chance to see Shinon and Leafa before, I guess you could say, the aftermath?
I hope so.
That's a good question because we saw the state Leafa was in the last time we saw her, and then we also saw the state Shinon is in.
I mean, I honestly think it would be a massive disservice to both of those characters and their struggles for them to just be ejected from the situation, albeit safely, but completely logged out of the situation before they have a chance to help with the final confrontation.
Mhm.
I think it would be a disservice, but at the
I
same
don't know.
time,
I feel like Sinon has already done a lot.
yeah,
She's already weakened him. She's already kicked as much ass as I think she could kick right then. I think she's already done quite a bit, and Leafa has really done quite a bit. But I mean, yeah, necessarily, it's kind of like everyone wants to see the giant in battle, but at the end, I think it's really Kirito against Vecta.
I was kind of hoping
yes.
Shinon would have pretty much kicked his ass completely. but-
Alice will help. Yes, Asuna will help. But at the end, it's still. I think it's going to come down to Kirito again.
Because as definitely with the limiter going on and I did a little more, went back and scrolled over it. Once the satellites can't keep up with the speed, so pretty much it is a bandwidth issue.
yeah.
technically.
But like I said, once they can't keep up with the speed, it safely
Disconnects them.
disengages their system. But whereas they're physically hardlined at the main site, if that speed goes up, there's no getting them out.
Safely. Gonna be a rough one. With only 10 minutes to take care of this problem.
Yeah, but the thing is, time does go differently in the underworld.
Well,
It
see-
does flow differently.
Yeah, because the thing that I caught on a second viewing of this was Hyga even says, yes, it's going to reach, yes, we're basically going to be fucked at the end of the 15-minute window. But what he kind of alludes to is as soon as that lever starts to go, the time fluctuation is already starting to speed up. So they're already in a accelerated time frame in the
But they're
underworld.
pretty much in a safe point. But once that 10 minutes passes, they're pretty much in the acceleration where it's not safe for them.
Yeah, and he said specifically, you will be stuck there for 200 years in sensory deprivation.
And with it technically being your soul that they're tapped into,
And that's much longer than a human soul lives.
there's a possibility they
That
could end up just living there, dying, or their body is like, as soon as they come back to their body, they're done.
they never regain the consciousness as before.
This was a very interesting episode, but also kind of short because there was a lot to cover, but not a lot to cover. Just the tiny details. Any last thoughts from anybody?
I'm concerned about the name of next week's episode.
I actually forgot to pay attention. What is the next
So,
episode?
yeah.
Next episode is the Night Sky Blade.
Oh.
That really that messes with
It could be
me a little.
awesome.
It could be
Yeah.
We had two
fucking
ideas.
amazing. It could be ultimate weapon recollection release.
Because we've never
It
really fully... Well, we kind of saw it the one time when he did it back in the Empire.
Yeah.
Right.
So it could be that.
It could be that. It could be a whole new skill. It could be a whole new ability that we've never seen, kind of like with the memory transfer of the tree into
He
Sago.
could sacrifice the blade
Yeah.
to beat Vecta.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That would suck. That's like the most OP blade in the underworld at the currently moment until Poe matures enough that they can cut him down and use him.
Which
wants
let's
this Poe
face it,
sword?
that's going to be the single
give it to you
most
for a good
corrupt
price.
weapon that's ever been in the underworld.
Yeah, it pretty much would have to be sealed, or somebody bad would get it, or it could go the other way where somebody's will strength is strong enough to pretty much seal him in a little bubble.
Yeah, I'm suddenly getting flashbacks to Soul Eater here. It's going to be the black blood inside the weapon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm leery about next week's episode. It could be amazing, it could be heartbreaking, but that's been the expectation for every episode so far.
Yes, it
Too
has.
much.
It's either been it's like badass, this is awesome, or oh my god, why is everything burning down? So we'll find out.
This is Rainwolf.
This is Kirito Silverheart.
This is Asuna Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
Leave a like, comment, maybe even subscribe. Remember to hit that bell button to stay up to date, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.